So, picture this. I walked into what I thought was my own small, invite-only dinner party. Just me, a few neighbors, nothing fancy. Then suddenly, every single pair of eyes in this elegantly decorated room locked onto me like I was the star of the show. And there I was, standing frozen, feeling like I had just crashed the biggest event in town without even realizing it. I'm talking chandeliers, flowers everywhere, music softly playing, the whole wedding vibe basically. And then someone hands me a bouquet. Yeah, me. A random guy who thought he was about to eat some lasagna and chat with friends. Now everyone's cheering, and I'm standing front and center clutching these flowers like it was part of the plan. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, wait, hold up, where are my actual friends? Why does no one here look familiar? Do I even know these people? That's when it hit me. I was not just uninvited, I was definitely not on the guest list. I mean, I started flipping through my pocket, hoping to find that invite I swore I had, but nope, nothing. The sinking feeling in my stomach was real. How on earth did I even get here? Well, turns out things got a little complicated that day. It started with one tiny mix-up involving my next-door neighbor, Emma, and her fiancé, Jake. They were gearing up for their wedding like the big, whole neighborhood knew about it kind of wedding. And me? I was just supposed to have a quiet dinner night alone, right? But somehow, amidst all the hustle and bustle, I grabbed what I thought was my own invite, probably mixed up in a stack of mail or flyers. So when I pulled up to the community clubhouse thinking I was about to walk into a casual get-together, well, the universe had other plans. At first I tried to play it cool, tried to blend in, but no one was having it. This was no casual party. This was Emma and Jake's wedding, and apparently, I was the new center of attention. People kept coming over, offering handshakes and hugs. Someone even whispered, "You look amazing up there." And me, standing there holding the bouquet, just hoping no one realized I didn't belong. It was one of those moments that feels like it lasts forever but is over in seconds. I realized I was the accidental guest who'd managed to step right into the middle of a wedding without an invite, and that everything was about to spiral wildly out of control. So, let me back up a little because understanding how I ended up holding the bouquet requires knowing the key players in this chaos, starting with Emma and Jake, my neighbors. Emma's the kind of person who labels her spice jars and schedules her grocery trips 3 weeks in advance. Seriously, she's a powerhouse of organization mixed with just a dash of nosiness, which made living next door sort of like having a very enthusiastic life coach who always knew when your trash day was. Jake, on the other hand, has this laid-back surfer vibe, even though we're literally nowhere near the ocean. The two of them, well, they were in the final, frantic countdown to their big day like the "we can't believe it's happening tomorrow and the caterer still hasn't confirmed" kind of frantic. Emma was in overdrive the whole week leading up to the wedding. I'd often hear her pacing in her living room, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, barking orders at Jake to remember ring pickups or confirm florist delivery times. Meanwhile, Jake would be nodding like a bobblehead, half listening but mostly just trying to keep Emma calm. It made me realize how much stress this day had piled onto them, which, helps explain why they needed everything to go smoothly. No surprises, no last-minute disasters. Just a nice, easy, perfect wedding day. Meanwhile, I'd spent that evening with zero plans. My original plan was simple: cook something quick, maybe watch a movie, then crash early. Nothing fancy. Just some me time. But here's where the mix-up started. Why I ended up at that swanky clubhouse instead of on my couch. You see, Emma had mentioned sending out a few last-minute invites to neighbors, little cards tied with ribbons for what was called a rehearsal dinner/welcome party for the few close people not caught up in the wedding day whirlwind. These invites were lovely and colorful, and I guess in the flurry of placing them in mailboxes, my own little dinner invite got mixed up with the actual wedding invitations Emma's planner had passed along. So I get home, find what I think is my invite, all pink and pretty and folded just right. It had the room and time, it all looked legit. Naturally, my brain immediately jumped to, oh cool, a casual thing next door, maybe some food and small talk. What I didn't realize was that underneath the calm formatting, this card belonged to Emma and Jake's actual wedding celebration, not that chilled-out dinner. And then there's Mrs. Carter, the wedding planner extraordinaire, or so I thought. She's this sweet older woman who carries a clipboard like it's her life support and flutters around with more sticky notes than you can count. When I first bumped into her in the hallway, she gave me this dazzling smile and said, "You made it!" Just in time for the ceremony. Honestly, it was like she assumed everyone walking in was another piece of the puzzle. I guess with all the chaos, she hadn't realized one extra person had sneaked in, or maybe she did but figured it was easier to roll with it than scrub me off the guest list. Now, for Emma, this wedding was the culmination of months of planning and careful coordination, so the last thing she wanted was any chaos, even minor mix-ups that might disrupt the flow. She had imagined this day being a serene, joyful event where everyone felt comfortable and all the details fell into place like clockwork. Instead, here I was unwittingly about to turn that picture-perfect scene into a scattered mess. So that's why this mix-up mattered. Emma's stress level was already sky high. Jake was trying to keep things light to balance her out, and Mrs. Carter was juggling so many moving pieces that allowing a random guy like me into the mix, even by accident, was more than just a small hiccup. It was about to ripple through their entire day, and trust me, nobody wanted to see that happen. Meanwhile, I'm stuck trying to decode what's going on, holding a bouquet that's definitely not mine, and realizing that my quiet evening just boarded the express train to disaster. Quite the start to a night I planned would be pretty low-key, and that was just the beginning. So there I was, standing like a man frozen in a live-action wedding scene, clutching the bouquet as if it could somehow teleport me out of this mess. I thought, all right, just find a way to slip out quietly, no one's really noticed yet, right? But nope. The universe wasn't on board with my stealth exit plan. Just as I edged toward the side exit, a woman in a sparkly dress grabbed my arm. "Wait, you have to be in the photos," she said like I was auditioning for a bridal party movie. Before I could stammer a protest, I was swept into a cluster of smiling faces, some of whom I definitely didn't recognize. Somewhere nearby, the hum of clicking cameras began, capturing what I swear looked like my reluctant acceptance of a very unwanted spotlight. Then, from the corner of the room, Emma's voice. It wasn't just panicked, it was practically breaking through the serenity like a fire alarm. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, eyes wide and hands fluttering nervously. I tried to explain, well, more like flailed through a broken sentence about the invite mix-up, the dinner, my intention to be invisible, and somehow it all sounded like gibberish mashed with a bad excuse. Emma's face was a whirlwind of disbelief and embarrassment. She was scanning the room, probably wondering who else was behind this accidental invasion of her wedding day. Meanwhile, Mrs. Carter was a mess of flurrying notes and muttered curses. I caught sight of her lunging toward a guest list clipboard like it was a lifebuoy, flipping pages furiously as if she could erase me from existence by sheer willpower. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more surreal, a voice from the crowd cut through the chatter. "Hey, he looks just like Tyler." The room paused, then buzzed. Tyler, as it turned out, was a figure from Jake's past, an ex-roommate and best man from an old college wedding. I'd heard stories, the prankster type, tall, dark-haired. Apparently, I fit the bill, much to everyone's bewilderment. Suddenly, strangers were shaking my hand as if I was some long-lost cousin mysteriously reappearing at the worst possible time. Emma's panic morphed into confusion. Was this a blessing or a curse? And me? I was just trying to figure out if running for the door right then and there was still an option. But as I made for the exit, Emma pulled me back with a surprisingly firm grip. "Wait, I need a favor," she whispered, eyes locked on mine like she'd just decided I was her secret weapon rather than the guy who crashed her wedding. I blinked. A favor? At this point, I'd have agreed to anything short of officiating the ceremony myself. So, there I was, stuck between a frantic bride, a flustered planner, a crowd misidentifying me, and the lingering question, what on earth was this unexpected favor going to be? Emma's eyes darted around, desperate but determined. "I need you to stay for a bit and just pose as Tyler," she said, voice low but urgent. Jake's family hasn't seen him in years, and some of them are still, well, a bit uneasy about that whole Tyler situation. If you can help smooth things over, just stay calm and be cool. I swear it'll make all the difference. Honestly, I was stunned. Me stepping into some mysterious shadow of Jake's past on his wedding day? I mean, if you told me an hour earlier that my quiet night would end like this, I'd have laughed, awkwardly and nervously. But Emma's expression was so sincere, so vulnerable, I couldn't say no. Besides, escaping now was a lost cause. Might as well see where this bizarre favor took me. "So?" I nodded, trying to keep the bewilderment under wraps, and the two of us slipped through the crowd toward a cluster of older guests, some of whom were eyeing me skeptically. Emma gave me a quick rundown in a whisper. Smile, nod, maybe share a few stories about college. I could barely keep a straight face imagining myself as some epic prankster college guy. As I tried to channel my best Tyler, I realized something unexpected. The older relatives began relaxing, chatting more freely, even laughing at the jokes I awkwardly threw together. Turns out, impersonating a ghost from the past, while ridiculous, actually helped ease the tension like nothing else could. Emma kept casting grateful looks my way, and Jake, now a little less frazzled, gave me a thumbs up from across the room. The rest of the evening blurred in a weird combination of small talk, polite laughter, and trying not to mess up the act too badly. I even found myself genuinely enjoying parts of it, weird as that sounds. Emma and Jake's friends and family, despite the initial confusion, warmed up to the accidental Tyler, and it somehow knitted a patchwork of goodwill over the earlier chaos. When the actual Tyler showed up a bit later, the relief on everyone's faces was palpable. Emma came over and squeezed my arm quietly. "You really saved us. Thank you." I gave a half smile, thinking, yeah, somehow I did. By the time the banquet wound down, I was no longer clutching a bouquet or ducking exits. Instead, I was chatting with guests like I belonged, sharing laughs about the surprise twists of the day. Emma and Jake pulled me aside one last time, their faces a mix of exhaustion and genuine thanks. Jake clapped me on the shoulder and said, "You know, next time just crash the party on purpose, yeah?" Walking home that night, the streetlights casting long shadows, I felt a swirl of emotions: confusion, amusement, relief. Had I been a wedding crasher? Absolutely. A secret weapon? Apparently. A newfound friend? Definitely. I wasn't sure if I'd helped Emma and Jake fix an awkward snag or just created a more bizarre story to tell at future neighborhood barbecues. Either way, I knew one thing for sure. This accidental adventure had turned one quiet night into something completely unforgettable. As I reached my doorstep, I glanced back towards Emma and Jake's house, where soft laughter still spilled into the night. Part of me wondered if maybe I should have taken a bow when I left, or maybe just kept running. But hey, sometimes making a mess leads to the kind of friendships you didn't expect. And if life taught me anything, it's to never underestimate the power of a mistaken invitation and a little bit of awkward courage.